Dawson, Katie Howe, Greg Gifford, Steve Linney, Verna Virtue, Lucas and Nestle, Anna has a hat, Laura Crims, Shelley Walsh, Courtney Sampler, Justin Champion, Damon Gothner, Nicholas Stott, Larry Kim, and 150 big ones. Hayden Carroll, Jeff White, Garrett Moon, Bridget Randolph, David Satella, Jim Banks, Matt Satella, and Ben Tepfer, Obi Andrew Enco, Ricky of the Air Miles, Ross Cavendale, Brett Satoris, Mary Haynes, and Mike Sadowski, Harry Mirabella, and Kevin Lee, Mark Trappig, Tide Mandolin. Jay Beer, Joe Alphabound, Phil Quick, Russell McCarthy, Chris Smith, Gavin Bell, Marcus Candler, Zach Johnston, Amy Landino, Bush Matar, Isaac Radunsky, Joe Bondarowski, Chris Green, and Andrew Dottavio, Alex Moss, Christina Nair, Mike Soto, was Miss Marsh. Christina Sentney, Joe Com, Camilla Garnia and Mitch Joe, Scott Brinker, Janet Murray, J.D. Prater and Hannah Butcher, Michael Bonfield, Boots en Français, Paul Rook, Marcus Miller, Joe Martinez and Josh Steinley, Paul Ovo, Fabrizio Ballerini, Johnny Ross, take a look at the Ivories. Andrea Val, Amy Bishop, Leah Bucking Warner, Lexi Mills, Christian Hans, Chad Pullett, Teresa Heath-Waring and Jeff Sauer, Kevin Indig, Pumping Arm Searchman, Stephen Spencer and Kirk Williams, Michael Fleischner and Sion Mahon, Marcus Sheridan and Stuart Rogers, Pam Ungst, Rock and Rose It Away. Bas Van Den Belt, Brad Geddes, Emeric Ernoult, iEva Zelca, Evan Carmichael, Patrick Conlon, Julia Bramble, and Rebekah Radice, Mark Bright, you are fired. Ian Anderson Gray, Sarah-Jayne Gratton, Joe Griffin, Ashley Ward, Alexander Rynne, Arianne Donoghue, Jason Barnard, Stephen Levy, Sam Mallikarjunan, Nick Wilsdon, Joe Turnbull, Kevin Gibbons, Ian Cleary, Tom Treanor, Laurie Wang, and James Elias, Michael King, hashtag Zurstab, Jeremy Einstein, Dave Rima Scott, Kath Payne, Cosman Rigrescu, Erla Stern, Lydia Citroen, Andrew and Pete, loves Trick or Treat. Dan Norton, Edwin Raymond, Jimmy Daly, Ned Poulter, Dixon Jones, Alex Tachlova, Pete Matthew, Aaron Levy, John O'Alderson, Fast Talking Snackman, Alyssa Meredith, Jeff C, Jessica Giglio, Dennis Yu, Alexander Robb, Sam Noble, Is it Mark Asquith or John Bon Jovi? Colin Gray, take it away. And Mr. Chris Ducker, finish it off.
Well, hello everyone and welcome to part 4 of Digital Marketing in 2019, the 5-part live stream series bringing you 120 of the world's leading digital marketers, all answering the same question: what is your number one actionable digital marketing tip for 2019? I'm your host and event organizer David Bain. I'm also head of product, digital marketing for Avado, and founder and host of Digital Marketing Radio. Thank you to everyone watching us live. If you're watching us live now, share it with your friends. This is going to be some event. We've got some incredible digital marketers all joining us today, and it'll be great to see as much interaction in the chat going on here as well. So each section, of course, of this broadcast is broadcast live from a leading marketing software or marketing training business's Facebook page. Today, we're very pleased to be joining you live from MobileMonkey's Facebook page. So let's have a little look at that to begin with. Now, if you haven't actually heard of MobileMonkey before, that's absolutely shocking, because you should have. It is an incredible marketing platform for Facebook that lets you automate a lot of your personalized customer communication using the power of chatbots. So I'd just like to show you something very quickly, and something that I'm sure you'll be interested in having a look at, because if you have subscribed to the sequence, the sequence on Messenger that you would have received after subscribing to the updates at digitalmarketingin2019.com, you will have received a few updates from me, and this is actually inside MobileMonkey, the platform, and this is part of the sequence that you would have received. It really is a wonderful platform. You can add different updates there. You can even add little sections saying show typing for 5 seconds, just to make it as interactive as possible. What I really I'm sharing my screen now. I didn't have your audio coming up out there to Facebook, Larry. Larry Kim just asked me a question there. Are you sharing your screen? I'm sharing my screen live on Facebook. I'm not sharing my screen to the Google Hangout where Larry is at the moment. So that's the answer to that, Larry. So I'm indeed sharing the screen on Facebook, and I'm just saying that in terms of I'll switch the noise out there from the Hangout there, and I'll just come back to the Hangout there in a second. Now, in terms of my favourite features, actually adding different GIFs. So I love when people choose options like "Tell me more" or "No, I'm not interested in that," and showing a little GIF, showing a lot of interaction there. So I think making that kind of sequence as personal as possible really makes that kind of medium, and I'm sure Larry will give a tip in relation to that just in a moment or two. If you're watching this live, of course, we're going to have one more episode in the sequence, and that's tomorrow, so make sure you're subscribe to the updates at digitalmarketingin2019.com, and we'll give you an alert when that goes live. If you're watching a recording of this, there's a couple of other things you have to bear in mind. One is all the audio recordings of this series will be released as a podcast, and that'll be released January, February time or so. Again, just stay subscribed to the updates at digitalmarketingin2019.com to get that. And one last thing, we're going to be publishing a book that's also called Digital Marketing in 2019, released in late February, and that will include all the incredible tips shared not only in this live stream but all the other parts of the series. So make sure you're alerted to when that actually goes live, when it's published, and of course stay subscribed to the updates at digitalmarketingin2019.com to get to that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to the first co-host. We've got a couple of co-hosts joining us today. The very first one is a gentleman called Ian Anderson Gray. So Ian is the founder of Confident Live Marketing Academy and helps business owners and entrepreneurs to level up their impact, authority and profits by confidently using live stream video. Ian, welcome.
Thanks, David. It's great to be here. I'm really excited to be on this show, and I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on next year, what's going to be happening next year.
Indeed, indeed. And hopefully that introduction was confidently enough using live stream video. Hopefully,
I was very impressed.
That'll get you approval.
You're going to go places, I think.
And yourself, sir. So I'm going to pass over to Ian just now, and Ian will just introduce our very first guest, who you have actually just briefly heard of as well. Anyway, over to you, Ian.
Thanks, David. Well, our first guest is Larry Kim. Larry's first company, WordStream, was recently acquired by Gannett for $150 million. He's currently the co-founder and CEO of Facebook Messenger marketing platform MobileMonkey, on whose Facebook page we're currently hosting this very live stream. So, Larry, what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Sure, it's the same tip every year. You got to just mix up the channel strategy. So typically in a company, your product and your messaging hasn't changed all that much. But if you're the channels and the tactics that you use, you have to move from the platforms that have bad engagement and high competition to the ones that have better engagement and lower competition. And so the things I would be shifting out of are things like posting to your Facebook page or like this kind of nonsense. The area that I would be seriously looking into is messaging, like business messaging. So think of it as a replacement for email, where you can just send out your blog posts or your event reminders, or just send them through Messenger or WhatsApp to your customers, and have them engage directly through messaging. The open rates for messaging are around 70% compared to about 5% on email. The click rates are about 20% on messaging compared to about 1% on email. These things, they don't last forever. It's kind of like a there's a golden era of every channel. You're gonna have to be one of the first few. Less than 1% of companies are doing messaging right now. And next year, APIs are coming out for messaging on Instagram, messaging on WhatsApp, et cetera, et cetera. iMessage. It's a pretty great opportunity. I hope you take a look into that.
Definitely. So you're saying that as well. So it's not going completely away from traditional posting to the likes of Facebook, but it's more embracing Messenger and messaging platforms. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that you can engage with the same people you're trying to reach with your Facebook live streams and your Facebook groups and your Facebook pages and your Facebook ads, but you can do it for free if you go through the Messenger route.
That's fab. Well, thanks, Larry. You can find Larry over at mobilemonkey.com. So do check out MobileMonkey, and thanks so much for hosting this show. It's been great.
Right.
Thanks so much.
Every day.
So when next up, it's Andrew and Pete. And Andrew and Pete are international keynote speakers, authors, and YouTubers. Are the multi-award winning fun content marketing duo who help businesses and brands get faster results from their content. Now, there is only just 3 minutes, I'm afraid, even though there's 2 of you, I'm afraid. But guys, what is your number 1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Whoop, whoop. Thank you so much for having us, guys. It's so nice to talk to you as well, Ian.
I know.
Not
just very nice.
More than David, but yeah, it's a nice surprise in your face. We only have like 2 minutes though, so we better go quick.
Yeah, come on, get on with it.
No. So we see that there's a lot of overwhelm in the digital marketing space, particularly. So our tip is we want you all to start following what we're calling the 90-10 rule, where you spend 90% of your marketing efforts doing one thing remarkably well, 10% of your marketing efforts faffing on, experimenting with everything else.
So it's getting harder and harder and harder to stand out online. And if all you're doing is just trying to do all these new shiny things and splitting yourself across every single channel, every platform, trying to blog, YouTube, podcast, trying to do all these things, you're just going to spread yourself too thin. And you're not giving yourself the time, the resources, the budget, the energy to put your efforts into doing one thing and to do that really, really remarkably well. And if you do that, you're going to grow so much faster than ever before. So do that first before you branch out.
That sounds great. So you're not saying that we can't play with like the fun, shiny new tools, are you? But you're saying focusing on the main stuff. Can you, is that what you're saying?
And experiment with stuff, try and find new things, new ways of working. You can repurpose your stuff on different platforms. But unless you are focusing on one channel, like you're not going to grow as quickly as you could. And that's the thing. We all want to grow quickly, right? We want to grow our audience, grow our sales, grow our reputation. And if you're spreading your efforts out too thin, you're not going to do that as fast as you possibly could.
That makes sense. So what is, just out of interest, what is your number 1 channel for next year? What are you focusing on?
YouTube. Well, we've done YouTube all this year, and into 2019, we're doing more on YouTube. We love how the content lasts on there. It's a search engine. So unlike other platforms where you post and then it's gone within a few hours or a few days, YouTube we're creating content for, and it's lasting months and months and months, if not years now, because it's still being found in YouTube search.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So, yeah, well, thanks, guys. You can find out more about Andrew and Pete by going to andrewandpete.com. So thanks very much, guys.
Thank you for having us, guys. Bye.
Bye. So it's now time for Scott Brinker. Scott is editor of the chiefmartech.com blog, program chair of Martech Conference, and VP of Platform Ecosystem at HubSpot. So, Scott, are you here? What is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Hi, yeah, I am here and loving the stream. So my #1 stack, it actually builds on what they just talked about here. You know, they were saying, eat your vegetables. Good advice. I say, you know, rationalize your MarTech stack. You know, and one of the first steps of that is just getting a good inventory of all the different tools that you're using in marketing and sales. Almost every company I've seen go through this, no matter how large or how small, when they actually do this search to say, okay, who's really using all which tools, the list is much longer than you would ever imagine. Like, yeah, I've seen companies with like 20 people and they do the list and they're like, oh my goodness, we had like 80 tools. You know, so the first step is do the inventory. Second step is, okay, now given those tools, just map them out on a whiteboard or spreadsheet or whatever. Just say, okay, what connects with what? What are we sharing data? Where's the workflow between these? And it's a great opportunity just to clean out stuff that you're not using. And then for the stuff that you are using, just make sure that, hey, if these two things need to be sharing data, make sure that connection happens. And then the last thing I would do with that is, yeah, take a hard look at the utilization. You know, if you have a tool and no one's using it, okay, that's easy, get rid of it. But if you have a tool that someone's using it and they've been using it the same way for like a year, you know, just it's worth raising the question of like, could we be getting more out of this tool? You know, we did the one use case adoption, you know, and then we forgot about it, but we're still paying for it. I mean, is it worth just sitting down and saying, hey, is there any way we could squeeze a little bit more juice out of this piece of fruit?
I love that. I wonder how many of us have been using a tool or a number of tools for like months or even years, and we've forgotten about it, and that monthly fee is still going out of our bank account. So would you say like doing kind of a regular audit in terms of what tools that we use is a good idea?
Yeah, I mean, you know, audit makes it sound, you know, very formal. Yeah. But yeah, you know, and once you get that list, you know, your stack, like once you do that exercise once, then it's a lot easier to come back 6 months later and say, all right, well, let's just update this. Let's check anything else gone away, anything else new that's come in. Really handy.
That's great. Well, thank you, Scott. You can find more about Scott over at chiefmartech.com. So thanks so much for that.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So it's now time for Jeff Sauer. Jeff is the founder of Data Driven You. He's a Google Analytics expert, an agency owner, a business coach, a lecturer, and a digital nomad. So, Jeff, what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Hey, welcome and greetings from Thailand. My #1 recommendation for any actionable tip for digital marketing is to measure it, to get good at the analytics, to understand before you make any efforts whatsoever, answer the question, how am I going to measure this? How am I going to make sure that I have some kind of measurement plan? How do I know that I have redundancy in the data? And just decide before you put anything out there to say, how are we going to measure it? And don't just go and say, okay, we'll just turn it on Google Analytics and measure something. Actually set some kind of target for what you're going to achieve. And so what I've gotten to in my business and what most businesses that I consult with, what I recommend is don't just do marketing for the sake of marketing. Do marketing to achieve some kind of objective and make sure you can measure it beforehand, and then do what any business does, any good business does, and then compare your estimates to your actuals and say, did we achieve what we are looking to achieve?
Love that. So if people are using the likes of Google Analytics at the moment and they don't really have a plan, or they don't have any goals or anything like that, you know, what would you say to people like that? You know, in terms of next year, what should they be focusing on specifically, would you say?
Yeah, so Google Analytics is very forgiving. Even if you don't really know what you're doing, if you have it installed, you can at least get some basic data to work with. But it's beyond that, really, you don't really need a tool to tell you what to measure. You should map it out low tech. So I always recommend going as low tech as possible and just whiteboarding it, or creating some kind of Excel document that says, here's my marketing objectives, and then going and finding the tools to get you there. And so if somebody hasn't been thinking about marketing and measurement, I would say actually have at my website, jeffalytics.com, I have a template that shows you how to fill in your marketing objectives for any marketing program. That's what you probably want to do, is to be clear what your marketing objectives are in the first place.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that you're talking about a low-tech solution, because I don't know, I find that I always go to a tool or make things overly complicated, but actually sometimes a pen and paper is the best place to start.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Jeff. You can find more about Jeff at datadrivenu.com. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so it's now time for Stephen Van Vessem. Stephen is VP of Community at Content King, which is a real-time SEO application that continuously audits your website for issues and changes and alerts you in case of SEO trouble. So, Stephen, what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Thank you very much for the intro, Ian. So my tip would be to automate tedious and boring work that requires humans to basically perform. So there's a lot of stuff that you can manually check, but it turns out you can automate it to a high degree. And when someone's out sick, or someone goes on a holiday, someone's pulled into a meeting, you still want to have essential checks being done. And what's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about? For instance, I'm talking about setting up alerts in Google Analytics. So when your revenue drops with more than 5%, for instance, you want to get an alert. You could do the same thing for conversions, traffic drops, do that across multiple channels, and so on. So you can go to town with that. And that really saves you a lot of time. Next one up is monitoring brand mentions. So there's you may know Google Alerts. It doesn't really work that well in my experience. There's an alternative called mention.com, and they do basically the same thing, and it works pretty well. Added benefit is you can use it for link building as well to get unlinked mentions linked, etc., etc. Hrefs for links that are lost or gained. You can set up alerts for those. It's useful stuff when you're doing outreach and stuff. And Content King for monitoring on-page SEO issues and big changes. You can't be hitting F5 all the time on your customers' websites, so you got to automate what you can automate. That doesn't mean that you need to completely rely on automation. I mean, you still need to get a feel for what's going on the sites. So you still need to perform your manual checks, etc., etc. But to a high degree, a lot of the checks people do can be automated. And we always say that the time that you free up with the automation, you can spend that on stuff that computers cannot do yet, such as writing quality content, etc., etc.
Oh, I love that. Some really good tools there, and some tips on how to be more efficient and be able to get your website performing a bit better from an SEO point of view. So thanks so much for that. That's really, really helpful.
Thanks.
Cool. So great. Well, thank you, Stephen. You can find more about Stephen at contentkingapp.com. So it's time for Bas van den Beld. Bas is an experienced marketing and speaking coach whose main goal is to make others thrive. So Bas, what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Ian, first of all, thank you for having me. It's really an honor to be part of this great initiative, and props to you guys for setting this up and doing this. It's quite a list of names, and a huge amount of quality content, which I've been listening to for a lot, well, almost a few hours in total already. Yeah. So that actually brings me to my tip, which is about quality, and it's about has to do with quality over quantity. It's in line with what some of the others have said, luckily. Otherwise, it would be a bit weird. But I'm still seeing a lot of content on the web that doesn't serve any purpose. And it's there because companies have set KPIs that are about number of articles or videos produced or about getting X number of views or likes. That doesn't work. It just means we're throwing more content out there, and people aren't necessarily consuming more content. They're being more critical in choosing which content they want to see, and they have to because there's so much out there. So the 2019 strategy on content actually should be about quality focus. The core of that strategy should be about what happens next. And I'd like to suggest to everyone to critically analyze their content, do an audit at the beginning of the new year, and be very critical on the purpose of the content. After all, each piece of content should have a goal. If it doesn't serve any purpose, why is it there in the first place? So let's all create content that is truly of high quality. And you can do that by analyzing your current content, for starters. Just use the tools like SEMrush, Screaming Frog, BuzzSumo, other tools to get a list of your content. Run it through these tools to see what gets attention and what doesn't, but most important, see what gets a follow-up. So what should your audience be doing next after they've consumed your content, and what are they going to do next? And are they doing that? And then change your content strategy from based on what ranks or gets numbers to based on what's next, and put the audience on a sort of like a New Year's diet for healthy content. That's my tip.
I love that. Yeah, sometimes there's this kind of view of content for content's sake, isn't there? And so what you're saying is to really focus on the quality content, to look at your existing content and see what's working and get ideas for the future. But maybe that should be all our New Year's resolution, is to focus on more quality content for next year.
Yeah, I would say so.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Bas. You can find more about Bas at speakwithpersuasion.com.
Thank you.
Great. So it's now time for Brad Geddes. So Brad is co-founder of Adelysis, an award-winning PPC recommendation engine platform. So Brad, what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
It's to learn how to work with the machines. For so long, it's been humans versus the machines, right? And sort of like a clash. And in reality, these days, from Bing ads, Google ads, systems like ours, you get recommendations and more than most people know what to do with. And the camps of users have been either just accept them all or ignore them all, right? And machines are great for doing a lot of background work. Humans are great for their critical thinking abilities. So as we see more and more of these, what we need to really learn how to do is evaluate our tolerance levels for each. And we have certain tolerance levels across different machine learning types, really low on ads, really high on bids for their error rates. And then find ways of measuring the outcomes of using the machines so we can say in the future, hey, I did those and they did poorly. That's a low priority. These worked really well. That's a higher priority. And instead of sort of ignoring or accepting them, starting to judge them and run them as experiments. So you will see more and more of these, and they're just going to come at us. So it's really learning to work with the machines as opposed to against them, but evaluating them critically.
I love that. Yeah, there's so many tools out there and algorithms, things that can help us, but quite often, I think some people I speak to, some businesses, they feel overwhelmed by the data, and there is this kind of clash. So they kind of just put them to one side. So what would you say, if there are people they've played with these data-driven engines, but they're feeling overwhelmed, what would you say to them for next year to focus on, to help, to instead of work against the machines, to actually allow them to help you?
First you're going to prioritize what are your primary goals, right? So you're going to have your primary goals. You're going to look at all this stuff and say, these may help us. These have a high chance of helping us. So let's start with those. Let's then learn how to judge them. And that's going to take a little bit for people to understand how to do experiments with machine learning to see which is actually helping and hurting. It's fairly easy in paid search to do it because there's a recommendation. You can say accept it. Let's make a notation of date, what happened, and then check a week later, see was this good or bad. And so you're going to start with priorities based on goals. Learn to measure them, and that's just an important thing. Everyone knows analytics. We measure traffic, but we don't measure machine learning right now, right? And so it's measuring their effectiveness. So you build up your own priority queue of which ones you want to look at more or less in the future.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. That's really, really helpful. Well,
Thank you guys. You're doing a great job today.
Oh, thank you.
Kudos.
Well, it's all David. It's all David's. This is his baby. So anyway, you can find out more about Brad over at Adalasis.com. So it's now time for Emeric Ernoult. Emeric is co-founder and CEO of Agora Pulse, a social media management tool helping you to get inbox zero on social. So Emeric, what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Hello, Ian. It's great to be here and great to be here with David. Sorry for my voice. I was in Brazil last week and I caught a Brazilian cold and they're pretty bad. I actually have one big tip that we're applying to ourselves moving forward. And it started from realizing that based on data that companies that focus on monetization and retention as well as acquisition are growing 3 times faster than companies that just focus on acquisition. And I see many companies that are just focusing their energy, budget, and people on acquiring new customers and getting more visibility and getting more leads and prospects and clients. And it's cool to do that, but it's very hard. It's probably the hardest thing to do, especially when you have an ongoing business and an existing business. And companies that know how to spread their energy and resources and people across monetization, which is what you sell and what you sell it for, and how much you charge it for, and retention as well as acquisition are growing much faster. So my big advice, and we're applying that to ourselves, is stop focusing so much on acquiring your customer and start thinking on how you can monetize them better, how you can charge their products and services more appropriately and more, for more value and get more money out of your existing clients. And obviously, retention doesn't need so many explanation. Is how you make sure that your existing clients keep being happy and keep seeing value in the service and product you're selling to them. And I'm seeing this, it sounds like a no-brainer. It sounds like, oh yeah, of course, it's easy, but very few companies and businesses are actually doing it. And we were not doing it enough. So it's not something I see in others. I also saw that in us. So that's my big advice. Think about how you price based on value and how you maximize what you sell for.
Oh, thanks, Emeric. So you say that the acquisition part seems easier, but do you think it is maybe the opposite way around? I mean, why do you think we're not focused?
No, I don't think it's easier. I think it seems easier.
Yeah.
Like writing a blog post seems more logic, and it seems like, oh, we should start by getting more customers because it's a reflex. We all think about acquiring a customer first and then retaining them, like, oh, 2 years down the road, fuck, our churn is too high. We should think about retention. And then 4 years down the road, oh, our price is too low. We should charge more. That's the funny thing. We start with the acquisition piece, and we are not thinking enough about the rest. And the rest is what's actually driving growth much faster and at a much better rate than just focusing on acquisition.
Well, thanks, Emeric. That's really, really helpful stuff. So you can find more about Emeric over at agorapulse.com. Thanks, Emeric. So it's now time for Jason Barnard. Jason's a search marketing consultant, speaker, and author on all things search engine or answer engine optimization. #SEO is AEO. So Jason, what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. This is great. I saw one yesterday. It was really good. I come from the SEO world, as you just said. So you would expect me to give an SEO tip, but I'm not going to give an SEO tip. I'm gonna change things a little bit. I'm going to assume that in 2018 you got your on-page SEO really good. We're going to assume you've got a fast site, you've got really nice headings, nice metas, good quality content, great site structure. And then we can move on to Google Ads using dynamic search ads. And I've been doing this all this year, and it's been great fun. We basically use the organic index to optimize the Google Ads campaigns in dynamic search ads using machine learning. Basically, Google chooses the headline, the search query, and the landing page. So all you need to do is write description, do your extensions and so on, and Google will do all the rest. And what's really nice about that is you feed it the pages you want from the successful SEO pages, the ones that drive revenue. And after a few hours or a few days, it pulls in, you get the data, and you can see where Google is misinterpreting your SEO. And that's amazing, because instead of waiting a couple of months, you can get the information within a couple of hours or days, depending on the size of your company. And you can see where Google is getting the headlines wrong, where it's getting the landing page to search query relationships wrong. And then you can go back to your SEO and correct them. If it's got the headline wrong, your meta title or your H1 is rubbish. So you need to change that. If it's got the queries wrong in terms of the landing page, then it's not understood your landing page correctly. So you go back, you correct your SEO, you wait a couple more days, you get more data. During this time, you're actually making money from your AdWords campaigns. You go back, correct your SEO again, come back, and after a while, you've got this really nice on-page SEO, which is really driving traffic in terms of Google Ads, which if you use CPA bidding, it will be profitable if you set a sensible CPA. But also your SEO is going to be improving, and that's really, really interesting. So you've got this really nice cycle going on. And after a while, once you've got this perfect SEO on page and you've got these perfect campaigns running, which, takes a little bit of time, but, pretty quick, 6 months, let's say, then the only way you can improve your profitability is to improve UX and your sales funnel. And of course, that benefits every single channel. There you go. 2 minutes, I think that was.
That's fab. Well, thank you so much. I remember the days when you have to wait months for Google to do anything. So it's great to know that things have moved on. So anyway, thank you, Jason. You can find out more about Jason at calicube.pro. That's with a K at the beginning. So thanks, Jason. So it's now time for Evan Carmichael. Evan believes in entrepreneurs. At 19, he built, then sold a biotech software company. At 22, he was a venture capitalist, helping raise $500,000 to $15 million. He now runs the biggest YouTube channel for entrepreneurs with over 1 million subscribers. So, Evan, what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Thanks for the love, man. This is awesome. This is a marathon for you. I love it. This is great. Content, more content, more content, more content, more content, more content. I do 3 YouTube videos a day. I do 6 Instagram posts a day. I think you need to get out there. If you are a thought leader, you are an expert, your voice needs to be heard more frequently. People are not putting enough content out there. I wish I could go to 8 videos a day on YouTube. Think of yourself as a channel, not a show. You're a channel, not a show. And people are not putting out enough content to, 1, get good at the skill of creating content, and to 2, build the momentum necessary to stand out in your space. So more content.
Love that. So how do you get that kind of balance between, obviously, yeah, more content, but how do you make sure that it's good quality content? Do you think the quality is important as well? And how do you get that balance?
I think the quantity leads to the quality. I think the more you do, the better you get. Like the more of these that you do, this will be like everybody in the world will be talking about it. When you first start anything, you suck. And the way to get better is to practice, right? Like the quantity leads to the quality. And so doing more, if you go 5,000 videos in, like you will be better than when you first started. And most people aren't putting in enough time to actually get world class at that skill.
I love that. So I think so many of us are just scared of making a mistake, and we're just focusing on how bad our videos or whatever the content is at the start. But you're saying just get on, do it regularly, and it will get better and better and better.
I'm saying expect to suck at the beginning. Like, you know what looks good? You can see somebody else doing it and say, wow, they're so good. I think I can do that too. And then you press record and you watch it back and say, wow, I'm terrible. Expect to suck. It's okay. And the next day you suck a little bit less and a little bit less, and then you start getting good. It took me 350 videos on my YouTube channel before I wasn't completely embarrassed by my content. We're looking back on it and say, wow, I'm really bad. 350 videos. I think most of the people watching could actually get there faster than I did, but you need to expect to suck. If you expect to be great and then you suck, that's when you quit. If you expect to suck and then you do, you've set your expectations, so then you know you just need to get better every single day. It's the daily repetition that you will get better.
I love that. Well, thank you for that encouragement. I think a lot of us need to hear that. So you can find out more about Evan at evancarmichael.com. Great.
It, man.
Thank you. So it's now time for Patrick Cutliffe. Patrick is an expert speaker and trainer for Google digital initiatives, and he also trains and consults global brands in digital marketing best practice. So, Patrick, what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Hi, everyone. Can you see me?
I can.
Awesome. My tip for digital marketing in 2019 is to start using the See, Think, Do, Care framework around your customer's journey. So I'm going to talk about signals of intent, micro moments, and the See, Think, Do, Care framework. So I'd like you to create a table with 4 column heads: See, Think, Do, Care. And I want you to use a large sheet of paper or a large whiteboard in your office. So within each column, I want you to break down each of these stages. So the C column is your largest qualified addressable audience, basically anyone who could potentially buy your products or services. The Think column is the same audience, only including those who are thinking about your brand, your products or services. The Do column is the same audience who are extremely hot to buy your products or services. And then the Care column is the same audience who have purchased something from your brand more than twice. So for example, if you are a car brand, in the C stage or column, everyone who likes to travel or move from place to place and has money is a qualified audience in that stage. In the Think stage, everyone who likes to travel, have transportation needs, and are thinking about making a change or choice, not ready to buy at this stage, so they're thinking about it. The Do stage are all of these people who are ready to buy right now from you. So I want you to think about the signals of intent, which signals your customers provide during their digital touch points in their journey. Every time we interact with a digital device today, we provide information and signals around our intentions. So as a business, I want you to analyze your data sources for signals of intent, and I want you to map your customer signals of intent under each of these columns: See, Think, Do, Care. So for example, a customer might search for a phrase or a keyword in Google. They'll click on your paid ad, they'll arrive on your landing page, and then they'll watch a how-to video. So what are the signals of intent, and how are you serving those customers? Then you're going to think about the micro moments. So we have the data insights around our customers' intent. How can we best serve our customers on their journey with relevant, timely content? So your customer wants to learn something, make sure you provide it where they are digitally. Your customer wants to discover something, make sure you appear in the search results. They want to watch something, make sure you've created some video, visual content. Your customer wants to buy something, make them an offer through a banner ad. So think of content like blogs, video content, banner ads, optimized paid advertisements, out-of-home advertisements, and so on. So that's it. That's my tip. Create the framework, put it on the wall, start mapping out your customer's journey, use those signals and micro moments, and good luck.
Fab. Thank you so much, Patrick. You can find Patrick on LinkedIn. So now it's Julia Bramble, who is an ex-forensic scientist. Julia is a social media strategist, speaker, and trainer. Her focus is the human behind the digital and business growth through creating connection. So, Julia, what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Hi, Ian. Thank you so much for asking. Well, we know, don't we, just how many more actions take place in a minute on the internet now than they used to even last year or the year before. So in the world of social media, what's happened? We've lost people's attention, and we've lost the ability to grow relationships. Who are the people that we most look out for when we're on social media? We look out for our friends. So what have businesses got to wake up to and do in 2019 like they've never done it before? They've got to act more like a friend out there on social media. And acting like a friend, what does that mean? That means sharing the tips and information that your friends out there really need. That means not just sharing any old stuff, it means sharing stuff that they really need. It means raising a smile, sharing a funny story. It means asking questions, finding out how they are. It means being empathetic. It means following up. It means not expecting someone to jump straight over to your website when you've only just met them. It means all those things that we would naturally do as human beings when we're hanging out with our friends, including maybe even telling them a funny story about something that's gone wrong for us, because we know that that is part of the give and take of friendship, right? The more businesses can actually go out there and emulate being a friend to someone on social media, not only when they're marketing, but also actually during the whole customer cycle and the follow-up as well, then the better their results are going to be.
I love that. Putting a bit more of the humanity back into social media and business. So some great tips there, Julia. Thank you so much. So you can find, I'm just laughing because Julia is my partner in crime on our live show every week, the Free Range Social Show. So I hope that was okay, David, to give a little plug there. But you can find...
You've done it anyway.
Anyway, you can find Julia over at bramblebuzz.co.uk.
Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful. Well, that flew past, Ian. I certainly thought so. How's that as an experience for yourself?
Yeah, it's quite it's quite a lot to think about at the same time, but I really enjoyed it.
You're a wonderful co-host, and we really appreciate you being on there. Lots of great comments on Facebook, lots of great advice being shared there as well. We're back at the beginning. Larry Kim, each channel has its day. Andrew and Pete focus most of your time on one channel. Jeff Sauer, measure it. I could read some great advice from every single person, but you can just rewind, dear viewer, and go back through everything yourself, like I'm sure that many people will.
I think there's a book coming. There's a book that might help as well.
There's everything coming. Absolutely, yes. But before I share a little bit more about that and what's going to happen, before you head off, Ian, I'd like to ask you the question: what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Yeah, well, I'm a big believer in live video and the authenticity of live video. And I think a lot of people are talking about that, authenticity. But I think we need to kind of rethink what that means, first of all. I think yes, we've got to be absolutely strategic in doing our live video, but I don't think when it comes to authenticity, I think we need to put more of the humanity, as what Julia was saying before. We need to connect with others as friends. And live video is a great way for us to bring ourselves in front of the audience and connect with them and allow them to have access to us. So I think next year, what I think we need to be focusing on is exploring what authenticity means to perhaps be more vulnerable as when we're on live video as well. So actually to embrace the imperfections. It doesn't always have to be so slick. Sometimes it's those funny moments, sometimes when something doesn't come out quite so well, that makes the live video so fun and engaging. But I think the other thing is to be smarter with live video. I don't think it's a good idea to do live video just for the sake of doing it. There needs to be a strategy behind it. One of the great things about live video is that it's a great way to create high-quality content quickly. I recently wrote a blog post which was 10,000 words and took me 2.5 weeks of solid work. It was a huge amount of effort, and it's going to be amazing for me in terms of a piece of evergreen content. But when you create live video, you can create half-an-hour live video, and then from that, you can then repurpose that intelligently across to multiple platforms. You can edit it that for YouTube. You could make it into a podcast. You can make it into a blog post, extract all the information from that. So I think it's a great way to start to create content quickly over multiple platforms. And so that's what I'm going to be focusing on. And I definitely recommend that viewers explore for next year.
Wonderful stuff. And I'm sure you and I could actually keep the conversation going about best practice for live video for the next 3 hours or so. But
we probably could.
Perhaps we should
maybe another time.
Indeed, yeah. Well, superb stuff. You can find Ian Anderson-Gray over at iag.me. Thanks for being here, Ian.
Thanks, David.
And if you're watching this series live, make sure you're subscribed to digitalmarketinginto2019.com to watch tomorrow's episode, because we'll be broadcasting another wonderful stream tomorrow, and perhaps a couple of screams as well. Hopefully not, though. And we're going to have 24 more great digital marketers on that one as well. Two other things, actually, why you need to be subscribed to the alerts there. First of all, we are going to be publishing all this advice as a series of podcasts podcast episodes, which will go live in January or February 2019. The podcast will be Digital Marketing Radio, but if you just stay subscribed to the updates at digitalmarketingin2019.com, we'll tell you when those episodes go live. And finally, as Ian mentioned, a book will be published as well. That's going to be late February of 2019, and the book, of course, will be called Digital Marketing in 2019. You know what to do. Make sure you're subscribed to those updates at digitalmarketingin2019.com to be alerted at when that actually book goes live. It's now time to pass over to the co-host for the second section of today's live stream, though. And that is a lady called Rebekah Radice. Now, Rebekah is the founder of Radiant LA, a premier digital marketing training and development firm. She's also author of Social Media Mastery, a comprehensive guide to strategic growth. Welcome, Rebekah. Over to you. And you're muted at the moment. If you just unmute yourself, hopefully we'll be able to hear you just in a second.
You got it.
There we go.
You can hear me now?
We can hear you very well indeed. So thank you so much for joining us as a co-host. It's great to have you here, and I'll just pass the reins straight over you to get going with introducing the forthcoming guests.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much. And we are joined by Zach Johnson. So Zach is an entrepreneur with more than 20 years of experience in the world of online marketing, branding, and affiliate marketing. Zach, welcome, and tell us, what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Hey, thanks, Rebekah and David. This has been amazing so far to watch. And like you said, I've been doing this for 20 years now. And the one consistent thing that someone should be focusing on, not just in 2019, but the many years to come, is their actual branding and expertise at what they do. And to also make sure they get outside into all the different audiences out there. So people are talking about YouTube, social media, having their own blog and everything else. But you want to make sure that you're an expert within your niche and your opinion and expertise is getting to the right audiences. So that can be through getting interviews on podcasts, doing guest blogging on other websites, and also running your own expert roundups on your own site. So it's about creating content, providing value, and then taking the time to actually promote that to different audiences. Because what we're seeing is so many people focusing on the content aspect, but not enough people are focusing on actually promoting it. So this is a big problem because the internet has over 1 billion websites on the internet right now. And the last thing we need is more content. You need to just promote your best content, and that's how it's going to work best.
Great tip. I think the promotion piece is often missed, isn't it? Where we get so excited and enthusiastic about creating the content, we kind of fall down on the promotional aspect.
Yeah, definitely. Most people will go live with a post and then just kind of push it out there, and then they'll forget about it. And they might have spent a week or 2 on that article, and then they go live with a new article the next day. And it's just like they're already borrowing their best content. So what you want to do is create the best content possible and then continually reference to it every time you're on a new podcast or maybe do a guest blog. As long as you're creating really great content that you know is going to be evergreen and it's going to be resourceful for years to come, you can keep spending more time promoting that. And that's how you're going to eventually rank higher in the search results and actually build an authoritative piece that other experts are going to link to as well.
Brilliant, brilliant. Instead of just running and chasing content, be very strategic in how you're creating. Awesome.
Yep,
well, thank you so much. Yeah, thanks, Zach. You can find Zach over at blogging.org. Next up, we have iEva Zelca. iEva is the CMO at AccuRanker based in Denmark with digital marketing experience across various industries, including tourism, textile, and software. iEva.
Hi, Rebekah.
There she is. All right. What is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Well, it's been a pleasure watching all the speakers before me, and they mentioned a lot of tips that I wanted to speak about. So I would like to reflect, first of all, on Tuesday I saw Jonas from Yoast speaking about do everything you did in 2018, but better. Of course, you have to first look at all the things that you're doing and continuously optimizing and improving it. But I think a lot of things can be achieved by experimenting. So when you do experiment, take actionable goals decide, okay, let's try this new tool for a month, or let's try this new technique, and make sure you can measure your results. What I've been working a lot is talking with AccuRanker customers to see what worked for them. And when I listen to these kind of webinars and podcasts, I like to hear examples. So an example I could give is either HubSpot or Kinsta, where they have been working on optimizing their content and really experimenting to see what works and what doesn't. So what they do is they take a lot of data and take notes of what changes they make into their content, and then they're able to track what exactly works, what doesn't, what topics they have to work on, what are performing well. So it's my biggest point in this is to experiment, but make sure you measure the data and you modify your content if you work in your content, and you try to see what's working best, not just trying to aim for magical results that you don't know what you're aiming for.
Excellent. So it's not good enough to just take somebody else's idea, swipe it, and use it. You need to actually know what works best for you.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, iEva. You can find iEva over at accuranker.com. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is Sarah-Jayne Gratton. And Sarah-Jayne is a technology futurist with a passion for innovation that enables. Sarah, what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019? Are you there? Not sure if she can hear us.
Yeah, Sarah, if you can just unmute yourself, that's brilliant. Okay.
Hi, can you hear me now?
There we go. We can hear you.
Hi, you can hear me. That's great. So yes, so my #1 tip for next year is to keep an eye on AI, because this is a really, really key thing for digital marketers everywhere to be aware of, is the power of AI. And I think we're looking at the way that Amazon can actually determine what customers buy. If they buy X, then they're going to buy Y. Also, the way that Netflix look at what viewers are watching and why they're watching this, and able to use this data to make assumptions about behavior. I think marketers really need next year to be aware of the way that predictive analytics can help understand consumer behavior in retail and in any aspect of business, really.
I love how you really just complimented everything that iEva said too, which is paying attention. Paying attention to the data. It's beautiful, and predictive analytics will definitely get you there. So that's great stuff.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best tip I can give. And I think with the number of, virtual personal assistants that we all have these days, I know I'm surrounded by them. I have more virtual assistants than I do real people around me telling me what time it is, what to wear, what colors look good, what the weather's like. And I think, marketers really need to tap into the power of this, because we actually like this kind of digital conversation that we're having, and I think consumers really like it. So I think it's that's a key thing to look out for in terms of growth next year and the way that marketing will evolve, I think.
Yeah, great reminder that while we have so much technology available to us, it is still so incredibly important to connect like this, create relationships with your customers, and still have those conversations.
Yeah, well, I think we're connecting digitally, we're connecting virtually, but we can't forget that we're still human when we need to connect on a human basis. So I think that, that there's a lot of intersections here.
Absolutely. Well, terrific. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yes. Have a wonderful evening. You can find Sarah-Jayne over at grattongirl.com.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Next up is Joe Griffin. Joe is the CEO of ClearVoice. ClearVoice is focused on building the best content and creative talent network on the planet, supported by an easy-to-use editorial workflow platform. So, Joe, welcome. Tell us, what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Hey, Rebekah, how you doing, by the way?
Doing very well. Good to see you.
Nice to see you, too. So my #1 actionable tip is probably not what you'd expect, but my actionable tip is to quit worrying about content strategy, which is weird because everyone wants to focus on that so much. But I think in my experience, you have to have certainly an idea of your content strategy, but I would just focus on create good content for your customers. And just so instead of creating a content strategy, just commit to a content plan. And you could create a simple content plan. It could be three pieces of content per month, whatever you want to call them. Just create a simple plan, commit to that. So my opinion is your content strategy should just be create a plan and iterate based on results. So just focus on looking at your analytics, iterate, get internal feedback, but don't stop producing content simply because you don't have this kind of pillar content strategy. For years and years and years, I hear people get held up on that, and people just delay by months and even delay by years in producing content and doing it right, just because they're stuck on this content strategy and they overcomplicate it. So that's my tip, is just like, of course you have to have a basic strategy, but don't get so hung up on these like crazy strategies. Just keep it simple, commit to a basic content plan, and you can always grow it from there.
Yeah, it can be terribly overwhelming, can't it? That, like you said, it can completely take you out of the game where you just stop altogether. Right. Would you have one place that if people were going to get started, just one easy way that they could do that?
Yeah, I think what companies need to do, and this is really important right now in this kind of freelance era that we live in. So about 35% of the U.S. workforce right now is freelancing. In the content category, we don't have the exact numbers, but we think it's closer to 50%. And we know that by kind of 2025 or 2027, 50% of the entire U.S. will be freelancing. So we're moving into this kind of freelance economy. And my point in saying that is that it's always important to identify good writers and editors and designers that you would hire in-house. But I think that a really important role now is having a managing editor that you can bring in and bring that person in-house. So I would really encourage companies to think about having a managing editor, someone who's used to managing talent, understands how to build an editorial calendar. And you can mix the word content strategist and managing editor a little bit, but I think if you really technically differentiate those two in a way, the managing editor is more important for the production value. Strategist, of course, being very important as well for other value, different types of value props, although they do intermingle. So I would just say, in order to execute a simple strategy, just hire someone who has experience producing content and managing people, and specifically someone who is comfortable managing freelancers, because whether we like it or not, as brands, we are facing an exodus of creative talent today. And the average creative person is in-house less than 18 months. And so when if you think about like the difficulty in teaching someone your brand voice, that's something you need to get really good at. That's why you need a managing editor, and you have to realize that this creative talent exodus, which is occurring, is only going to increase. So prepare yourself for that reality by getting that in-house managing editor, and then start small with building some freelance teams that you can work with. And then again, just define a simple content plan. You can do it in any kind of program that you want, but define that simple plan and then use that one person in-house to execute against it.
Good stuff. All right. Thank you so much, Joe. You can find Joe over at clearvoice.com.
Thanks, Rebekah.
Thank you. Next up, we have Ashley Ward. Ashley Ward is a digital marketing strategist at SEMrush, an all-in-one digital marketing tool. Ashley, welcome. Tell us, what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Hello, and thank you so much for having me. My #1 tip is going to be about content as well. My tip is to refocus your content and your content strategy to appease the mobile user first. So for a long time, we've been creating content for desktop, which generally meant longer form content, generally meant satisfying more for bots than for users. Going into 2019, we need to put the mobile user first. And I wanted to really see how this works. And so I ran an experiment with SEMrush and looked at how mobile users are searching for keywords, what kind of queries they're putting in when they're going and landing on content. And the types of queries that they're searching for, they're looking for something that's super fast, something that's very actionable, something that's trendy, it has to be relevant. So when you're creating content in 2019, when you're really looking at content next year, is your content satisfying those requirements? Are you writing content for those, or are you still just writing for the desktop user?
You've got to really think outside of what your strategy has been up until this point and take a good look at how are people getting to you, how are they consuming your content, and then how can you kind of reinvent that content that you've been creating. And you guys do such a great job. So wonderful having you here, Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you can find Ashley over at semrush.com. Next up is Alex Rynne. I feel like it's Old Home Week. So many people, so many great faces. Alex is an award-winning content creator who builds global content campaigns designed to inspire and enable marketers and sales professionals to find success on the LinkedIn platform. All right, Alex, it's your turn. What is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Hi, Rebekah. Thank you so much for having me. And sorry for my voice. Someone earlier mentioned that they have a cold, and it must be like that time of year because I have one too, hence why I'm working from my living room. But I'm really excited to be here. My actionable tip is that, in a digital marketing landscape where there's just too much content, yes, mine is content related too, since I'm a content marketing manager, and it's what I think about all day. There's too much content, but there's not enough effective content. So one thing that my team is really focusing on next year is doing fewer things better. So that's my tip. I think, as content marketers, we'll launch a campaign, we'll move on to the next very quickly, but we need to focus on letting our content breathe a little bit. There's no prize for hitting publish, right? And it's unrealistic to think that just because we publish something once and in one content format, that it means your entire audience has seen it. Your audience is likely pretty diverse and has a variety of different content consumption preferences, and the same person who prefers a 60-second video might not want a 50-page ebook and vice versa. So I would recommend spending about 20% of your time actually creating a piece of content and then 80% of your time distributing it, taking the time to A/B test, taking the time to optimize as you go, see how things are performing, and don't forget to go back and truly measure the results before moving on to the next thing.
That is a recurring theme we're hearing, measure, measure, measure. Well, thank you so much, Alex. You can find Alex at linkedin.com.
Great, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Hope you feel better.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Arianne Donoghue. Arianne Donoghue is Strategy Director at Epiphany and a proud part of She Does Digital, a collective designed to encourage more women to pursue careers in the digital industry. Arianne, what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Hi, well, it's not about content. This is a tip I'd like to give people about automation. We are entering a phase in digital marketing where we've got ever more platforms to manage and things are becoming so much more complicated, and we've got to do more with less time and more with less money. And so I would really encourage people to have a look at how automation can save them time in the coming months. There's 3 areas in particular of reporting, bidding, and analysis, where tools like Google Data Studio, scripts, and platforms like Analysis and Optimizer can really help free up time that we can spend on more important work. There can be a time or cost investment in some of these platforms, but given that our time also has value, I'd encourage everybody to look into how much time they could save. And if they don't know where to begin, they can look at platforms like Toggle or use any timesheet data that they may have on hand and use that to identify where the majority of their time goes or the things that they do most repetitively, as those are really the best places to begin with saving that time, hopefully, and freeing up their time and hopefully their brain for work that can add a lot more value.
Yes, saving those brain cells, so incredibly important. And time it's one of those things that we can't create more of. So it's really maximizing the time that we do have. And I love that it wasn't content focused. I mean, obviously that's so much of what we're talking about here.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, but yeah, terrific stuff. So thank you so much for being here with us. Arianne, you can find her over at epiphanysearch.co.uk.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, next up, I'm going to try not to murder your name, Sam. So Sam Mallikarjunan, did I say it right?
Yep.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Yay, I passed the test. All right, so Sam taught advanced digital marketing at Harvard University, is a former head of growth at HubSpot Labs, and now leads the marketing team at birdeye.com. Sam, welcome. Tell us what, yeah, you bet. What is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
My #1 digital marketing tip is for marketers to stop trying to do everything themselves. You've got this wonderful base of customers who are far more trusted than you are. HubSpot does this survey every year that asks this simple question, who do you trust? And at the top are like teachers and doctors. And further down are politicians and lobbyists. And then below them are marketing professionals. So you guys know that if I say Bird Eye's great, Bird Eye's paying me. You don't take that as seriously as if a customer of Bird Eye or a customer of yours says that it's great. So reach out to your customers, ask them, are they satisfied? Some of us do that, some of us don't. Act based on that information. I always say 0 if somebody sends me an NPS survey just to see if anybody actually follows up with me. Well, usually they don't. But if they are very effusive, if they have a great story about what your product or service or solution did, how it impacted their life, how it impacted their work, collect that story and use that as your marketing. It's a great advantage for smaller companies, for small businesses, for startups, because you don't have to have a huge marketing team. And the good thing is it's also bringing balance to the universe, where just because you have a big sophisticated marketing team with lots of content doesn't mean that you're going to be able to win the marketing game if your competitors' customers are saying better things about them than your customers are saying about you. So listen to your customers, do the service piece, actually respond and engage, but then take it a step further and use those stories to become your engine of growth. Don't sell a product at a price. Sell a leading role in a story that your customers want to see become their reality.
Wow, there's so much good stuff in there, from what you first talked about in surrounding yourself with people that are brilliant in their own space and can really support you in your growth. I think too often, especially as entrepreneurs, we try to juggle everything, and then we wonder why we are completely overwhelmed and, to Arianne's point, totally out of time. And with that, I see creativity just kind of fly out the window. So I think it's incredibly important that we can free ourselves up and give ourselves that space to really live and breathe within, I think what you're saying, your own genius, where you really enjoy what you do every single day.
Yeah, and let your customer part is when you can have them, like your website shouldn't be your marketing team talking to your future customers. It's your current customers talking to your future customers. And let them create all that content for you. And then, yeah, you can absolutely have more time to do the stuff that you love and that you're passionate about as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and there's so much right there at our fingertips if we're doing exactly what you're talking about, which is having those conversations, actually listening to those answers, and then taking that and creating content around that. So great stuff. Thank you so much for being here with us, Sam. We can find Sam over at Mallikarjunan. Oh, I'm going to say it wrong now. Mallikarjunan. Right?
Mallikarjunan.com. Yep. If you Google anything even close, you'll find me.
Excellent. All right. Well, have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for being here with us.
You too.
All right. Up next, we have Jan Ilunga. Jan is a podcasting consultant, speaker, experimenter, and podcaster who helps podcasters and entrepreneurs amplify their reach of their message and their business through podcasting, workflows, and automation. Welcome, Jan.
Hi, Rebekah. How, David? And hello, everybody. Thank you for having me here.
Doing great. Thanks for being here with us. So tell me, what is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Yeah, sure. I actually have some visual aid here, so it's easier to see.
Nice.
So take a screenshot or something, because I can't be like this the whole time.
No, we want to see your face.
No, jokes aside, I have 3 keywords that kind of make the strategy for next year. The first keyword is systems, the second keyword is automation, and the third keyword is centralization. So I'll be as fast as possible here, but still will provide some value. What do I mean by systems is to really focus on creating workflows, systems for the different moving parts. Think of things like researching and gathering content ideas, or think about your content creation process, your content marketing. Really think about what are the steps you and your team carry out on a regular basis to focus on these tasks and other tasks, and organize them in a project management tool like, I don't know, Trello, Asana, Plutio, whatever. An example of this applied to the podcasting field could be if you host an interview-based show, stop emailing back and forth with your guests, but create a streamline the steps. What do you want to get from a guest? Their name, their website, their headshot, whatever. All these things, you can get them in one step or in one shot, so that then you have all that information available for you. Automation is pretty straightforward and is to focus on, well, automating certain steps. You shouldn't obsess with automation, but it can really help you out. So going back to podcasting, for example, instead of having a form your guest fills out and gives you some detail, and then, I don't know, you or your assistant copy and paste that into a Word doc, and then you use that during your interview, you can actually use a tool like Trello and connect it to your calendar to actually connect the two, so that as soon as the guest gives you their name, website, and everything, all that information is automatically organized in a Trello card for you, and it's ready for you to go, so that when you prepare for the interview, you don't have to look for the details. You find them right there in Trello. In terms of tools I would quickly recommend are things like Zapier is great, If This Then That. And if you use Trello, take a look at Butler for Trello. It's a great tool to automate steps in Trello. And the last point here, centralization. Whenever possible, try to avoid jumping from tool to tool. Think of things like, for example, checking your website analytics, your social media metrics, stats related to your paid advertising campaigns, and try to merge those data into all-in-one dashboards. And I know there are tools like, I think it's pronounced Cyfe, CYFE.com, which actually allows you to do that. So centralize all of that data. So to summarize what I've been saying here, 3 words for 2019: systems, automation, and then the third one, centralization. And if you have more questions about any of these points or anything else, you can find me on my website, yanilunga.com. You can go to the contact page, shoot me a message, or you find me on social media.
Excellent. And I love that you brought props.
Yep, here it is. Try to make it a bit fun.
That's right. And you are singing my song with the systems and automation. So great tip,
Great.
Jan. And like Jan said, you can find him over at yanilunga.com. Take care, Jan.
Likewise. Thanks, Rebekah, David, and everybody else. Enjoy the rest of the event here.
All right. Bye-bye. Next up is Nick Wilsdon. Nick has spent 20 years working in SEO, both on agency and client side for global brands, and enjoys studying technical SEO and new opportunities in data, mobile, and voice. Nick, welcome.
Hello, Rebekah. Hey,
Hey.
how are you doing?
Doing terrific. How are you?
Yeah, very good. I'm feeling some sympathy for the Eurovision Song Contest at the moment. So it feels like we're kind of dialing in from different countries for you.
That's okay. It's diverse, right? It's fantastic. We're all over the world.
Yeah, that's
So
brilliant.
tell us what your #1 actionable digital marketing tip is for 2019.
Okay, well, I think voice is going mainstream in 2019. You can see that Amazon and Google are fighting out for market share at the moment. The big change that's happened is that they've released their chipset, their technology, and that's now going into different devices. So Amazon has put a proof of concept into a microwave. Google is releasing their technology for the new Panasonic TVs. We're going to see an absolute explosion in the number of devices that have smart technology in them, because for relatively little cost, that manufacturers can differentiate their products. They can make them a smart device. So some of the suggestions I've seen from Gartner suggesting that 75% of US households will have smart devices by 2020. I think that's a really conservative estimate, to be honest. With this kind of explosion of the chipset, I think it's going to be far faster than that. So we're going to really see this take off next year with a far larger audience. So my tips would be, how can you get ready for this change as a brand? And I think the thing that you need to focus on is how can I make my information and services machine readable? How can I allow this data to be shared with Alexa skills, with Google Actions I'm creating? How can I allow this to be read from my website with schema and microformat markup? How can I make everything that I do accessible to this new technology? And involves a kind of different way of thinking really for us. But just think about schema deployment and really kind of prioritize anything that involves making that information available, whether it's feed, schema, any of these techniques.
Excellent. That, yeah, I'm excited that you brought that up, because obviously we haven't talked about that yet, haven't heard about that yet, and it is a part of our everyday lives.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a huge thing for us, and voice assistants are really going to change the whole way that we're marketing. We're going to move from SEO being something that's focused primarily on Google and the Google SERPs to SEO being about discovering, allowing our brands to be discovered in all these different environments. So it's going to be a big changer for SEOs.
Yeah, for sure. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, Nick. You can find Nick at nickwilsdon.com.
Thank you. And yeah, take care, have fun, and I'll see you later.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye. All right, next up is Juliana Turnbull. Jo is a skilled professional in SEO and online marketing with 10 years of experience in digital. She's also the organizer of Search London, a networking event for online professionals in SEO, PPC, and social media. Welcome, Juliana.
Yes, hi there. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me on the show today. Yeah, it's a great, I've just been following it. Loads of great tips to give away.
Fabulous. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of everything for everybody, isn't there?
There is, yes. So my tip is not about content.
Okay, good. Give us your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019.
So the actionable tip really is to upskill. So there is so much going on in the world of search, as we know, or online marketing, that it is really important to keep up to date with everything. So we have the few days that people might be having off. I would really recommend you upskill in Google Analytics. It is free to take these courses. I myself have been doing this over the summer as I had a bit of time off. Google Tag Manager as well. Very important if you are obviously using this with your website. And I also was a member of the Link Research Tools Associate. For those that aren't able to do some of these skill up online, I would recommend attending meetups as well, so you can find out from real hand, from actionable tips from people that are doing this in the industry. And then I would also go and investigate if you guys are doing working with other tools and platforms, like was mentioned earlier by one of our guests, that you really go and see who's using what and for what purpose. So SEMrush gives a lot of insight, on crawl as well, about crawling obviously your site. Ahrefs is also very good keyword research, but really it's important to upskill so that you know the best tools for your business, and also you can know basically the traffic coming to your site. Because as we said, some people have said before, we're all producing the content, but where are the results? You need to be able to measure these results.
Yeah, I love that you and so many others are sharing just terrific tools, because as we know, there are so many to wade through out there. And in 2019, we really need to get crystal clear on what are those top tools that we should be focused on, so we're not wasting a whole lot of time, effort, money on those that might be performing the same exact task. So thank you so much, Juliana. If people want to connect with you, you can be found over at SEOJoBlogs.com. Love your branding. That's fantastic.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, David, for organizing. Great show.
Thank you. Take care. All right, next up is Ian Cleary. Ian is a tech marketer that runs the popular marketing blog on Razor Social and provides marketing consultancy services mainly to SaaS companies. Ian, hello.
Hello, Rebekah. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Good, great, great. You can hear me okay, I know, yeah?
Sure can see you great,
Cool.
Yes.
We have 3 minutes. I better get going.
That's right. All right. So give us your number one actionable digital marketing tip for 2019.
Well, number one tip for 2019 is to get more from your existing content. So I think we always talk about new content all the time, new content. Recently, we started auditing our existing content, evaluating and improving it, and then driving a lot more traffic. So you can drive a lot more traffic to existing content. So example of the things we're doing is, analyzing the content to see which content is not driving any traffic. If it's not driving any traffic and there's no valuable links to the content, we delete the content. If it's not driving traffic to it and it has some valuable links, then we'll redirect it to another post. And that post then is one that we want to move up in search rankings. So getting these additional links is helping it to move up in search rankings. So we just need to make sure when we're redirecting to a relevant post. Or we might take a post and we go, well, actually it's doing well in search results at the moment, and we want to push it up. So we start expanding the content on that content and start re-releasing that content. For example, I've got a marketing tools guide for 2018. I'm going to re-release that in 2019 because it does well in terms of ranking for marketing tools. I want to move it up a little bit more, so I'm going to keep on topping up that content. Because too often we just forget about that. The same type of content, I need to add some of that content in to my post as well. So it's really doing a full analysis of your existing site. It's a little bit tedious, it takes a bit of time, but so worthwhile. And one of the areas, there's loads of other areas, but one of the areas we're doing as well is looking at internal links. Are you really using the internal links within your site well enough? You need to look at where you're linking to, and if you want to, again, promote some content, look at, are you linking to the right posts? And then we start analyzing the click-through rates. Are our click-through rates really low? Well, maybe we can improve the meta title and improve the description to improve our click-through rates so we get more traffic. So it's all about getting more to what we have.
Well, you are proof, Ian, that all of this works, that everything you've just talked about absolutely works when you work that plan. So thank you so much for being here with us. If you want to find Ian, you can find him over at razorsocial.com. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. Next up is Tom Treanor. Tom specializes in content marketing, SEO, and social media, and is the Director of Content Marketing for both arm.com and treasuredata.com. Tom, welcome.
Hi, Rebekah. Thanks a lot for having me. And thanks, David.
Thank you for being here. So tell us, what is your number one actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Right. So the challenge is to give one actionable tip. So I did boil it down to one. And I think the reason people are talking about content and SEO and even discovery via voice services like Alexa are that content is still so critical. You have to prove that you're an industry expert. You have to also get found by Google and Alexa and these other services. So the biggest problem I run into when I work with these different companies and when I join a new company is often they have no idea what to write about. Maybe they can think about ideas for a couple of months and they've run out of content ideas and pretty soon they're writing a bunch of Me Too posts that are really not going to move the needle and it's actually a waste of their time. So one tip I have, very actionable, is go to a tool that's a lesser known tool. It's at alexa.com. And you can actually subscribe for a free trial there. And there's a tool called the Competitor Keyword Matrix, where you can basically put in a proxy for any industry and get out what all the different sites in that industry are ranking for, including your site. So you can see kind of a gap analysis against your competitors. You can get a lot of new ideas. So to me, the most actionable tip I can give is go there, alexa.com, try trial of advanced or agency. And the Competitor Keyword Matrix is something that you can use for free on this trial and download, and that'll basically help you do a content calendar probably for the next 6 months. So that's my one actionable tip is do content marketing, look at your SEO, and what Ian was saying is definitely optimize all your existing content. But if you want new content, this is a great way to get ideas by looking at the competition.
Tom, the geek in me just went, what? Gonna have to go play around with that. I love it.
Glad to hear it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that. And for those of you that want to connect with Tom, you can do that at treasuredata.com.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Next up is Kevan Lee. Kevan is the Director of Marketing at Buffer, a social media management platform that helps small businesses grow. Hey, Kevan, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Good to see you, Rebekah. Hi, David.
Good
Hi,
to
everyone.
see you as well. All right, so lay it on us. Give us your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019.
Gladly. So mine has to do with strategic planning, which might not seem too actionable, but I'll take it to an actionable place. So the #1 tip is to stop thinking of marketing like a funnel and to begin to think about it in terms of loops and flywheels. And so that's the big picture idea that we're operating with at Buffer. And then the way we're making that actionable, and the thing that you can do today after this call or before the end of the year is up, is to run an exercise to come up with some answers there. And we take a lot of inspiration from the folks at HubSpot and their flywheel exercise. And it goes like this. So you create the initial flywheel by identifying the core ways that you attract customers, the ways you engage customers, and the way that you delight customers. And after identifying each of those ways, then you attach a single success metric to each stage. And at the next stage, you then start thinking about, well, how can we maximize delight and how can we reduce friction? There's a couple other exercises there. So for maximizing delight, you examine all the different activities and programs that you're currently doing within marketing, the different activities that move your customers through that flywheel of attraction, engagement, and delight. And you end up with this table where you can consider, are these designed to serve our process or are they designed to serve our customers' needs? Ideally, they're going to be designed to serve your customers' needs. So each activity you analyze and you say, in the past we did this, and now we're going to do this in order to maximize delight. And then when it comes to reducing friction, we break this down using 4 different steps. So first, you identify your points of friction. You can think about the complaints that you hear from customers. You can think about goals that you've had trouble hitting in the past. And then you decide, well, which of these can be automated? And of the things that can't be automated, which can be addressed through sharing goals with other teams, getting more people involved on the problem? And if you can't answer either of those first 2 questions, then the third one is, how can we address these through reorganizing different teams and areas? And in the end, you have a pretty cool action plan for 2019 with ways to maximize delight.
A full framework. And you guys are working that every single day over at Buffer.
Doing our best, yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kevan. Thanks for being here with us. If you want to connect with Kevan or anybody over at Buffer, just go to buffer.com.
Absolutely superb. We've just had such an incredible amount of value shared during the session here. We had one more caller that was due, Pam Moore. I'm not sure if Pam's going to appear or not, but I just wanted to highlight quickly some of the incredible tips that have been shared. Back towards the beginning, we had Emeric Ernoult sharing companies that focus on retention and monetization of existing clients are growing much faster than companies that just focus on acquisition. With Evan Carmichael saying, you're a channel, not a show. Put out more content. The more you put out, the better you get. Quantity leads to quality. Sam Mallikarjunan said, stop trying to do everything by yourself. Ian Cleary said, if your content isn't driving traffic and there isn't any decent links pointing to the content, delete the content. And just lastly there from Kevan Lee, measure how you attract, engage and delight your customers. There's so much more that I want to go back and listen to myself, so I'm sure there's many people listening, watching that actually wants to do that as well. But Rebekah, you've been a wonderful host, but I'm sure you've got some wonderful advice to share as well. So before you head off yourself, I'd like you to answer the question as well. What is your #1 actionable digital marketing tip for 2019?
Well, I think I'm going to bring it right back to Ian, and his answer to you was about video, and I completely agree with him. My tip has been the same for the last several years, which is live video, and it has really dominated the social and content space, and with good reason. You look at just the soaring popularity that it has had over the last several years, and you just cannot afford to A, not be invested in video, and B, think YouTube only. Today we're here, we're on a Google Hangout, we're over on Facebook Live, there's LinkedIn, there's Instagram, there's so many different options where we can connect with our audience, and I would tap into everything everybody else talked about here today with content, and really thinking about how you can strategically strategically repurpose content that you've created into video. So whether it's into pre-created video or that live streaming video or into something like a wave video that I think Ian had talked about, there's just a variety of ways that we can connect with our customers and really personalize that experience. And I see that as our big opportunity in 2019, is to not only get in front of, but stay in front of our audience and create conversation just like we're having here today, where we're not hiding behind our computers, not hiding behind our content, but getting active and involved and really listening. Sam talked about that, you know, listening to the consumer, to our customers, and what they have to say and what it is that they love or don't love so much about our company, and how can we take that knowledge and that information and continue to create actionable content that truly solves a problem for our audience. And I'll just say real quickly, I have put together a PREP, P-R-E-P method. It's a framework that really simplifies this, where you're planning, you're researching, you're executing, and then you're finally tying that ROI, that profit piece into that. So it's a very thoughtful way to go about, in a very strategic way to go about video creation. So there you go, David. Video, video, video.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm glad that you and Ian have been hosting today, because I'm always tempted to ask a follow-up question. I want more about this particular topic. But when you have so many incredible people coming on once every 3 minutes, it's impossible to keep on asking follow-up questions. We get great content for everyone, and obviously viewers, listeners can go and research further into it. But I want to have further conversations with you about what do you do with live video? What do you do in this circumstance? But that's for another day, I reckon, because we've already been on air for about an hour and a half or so, shared some incredible content there, and if you want to find out more about Rebekah and what she's doing, you can find out over at RebekahRadice.com. Rebekah, thanks again so much for being the co-host.
Thank you, David. Awesome, awesome group of people.
Absolutely, completely agree. If you are watching this series live, make sure you're subscribed to receiving alerts when we next go live. We've got one more live stream in the series, and you can sign up for an alert when we go live over at digitalmarketing2019.com. If you can't watch everything live, I can understand, because there's so much that's being streamed. Make sure you're subscribed as well, because then we'll tell you when the podcast episodes are released. We'll publish podcast episodes on Digital Marketing Radio of everything that's happened in this series. There'll be 10 different podcast episodes that go out as a result of these 5 big live streams that we've been doing. And also, we are publishing a book. We're publishing the book Digital Marketing in 2019. That'll be published in late February of 2019. It doesn't have a definite date yet, because it's a little bit in advance, and we're still obviously collating the content for that. But please stay subscribed to those updates at digitalmarketing2019.com, and we'll make sure that you are aware when we actually go about publishing the book. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining us live today. Until tomorrow, be fantabulous and do one thing that scares you. Adios.